So it's almost the evening. So thanks for hanging in there with us for the Packet Hacking Village. The whole day. And again, we're very overwhelmed, and we are absolutely amazed by your support. So thank you all for being here. Yes, I see. So I guess I want to take some time to quick moment to introduce the next speaker. Who here was at B-Sides Las Vegas this year? Okay, so you were at B-Side. You may have seen this talk at Proving Ground. So at the Proving Ground track, one of the talks on the Wednesday was on Dorking, and now it's my pleasure to introduce Filip Reesalu, flying in from Sweden. And he's going to talk about Dorking. So without much ado, Filip.
Thank you. So this talk is not going to run for 50 minutes. It might run 15 minutes. When I did this at B-Sides, they started me off 10 minutes early due to a scheduling issue. So I ended up at 10 past 3. All right. I'm going to introduce a little tool that I built for collecting Dorking results. I'll briefly explain what Dorking is if someone doesn't know about it. So my name is Filip Reesalu. I'm a security researcher at Recorded Future. I used to be a software engineer in the linguistics department, as well as a data scientist for a few years. I'm going to start off by introducing Dorking. I'm going to look at a few of the tools that I saw when I wanted to do this, and then I'll introduce Dorky, as it's known, and then some future stuff like some issues and what I would like to see in the future. This is an open source project, so it would be great if any of you have a need to collect Dorking results. It would be great if you used it. Send me some feedback or help with the code. So, search engine hacking which is called Dorking as well. It's a way of exposing compromised or poorly configured servers. It basically revolves around doing clever Google searches, looking at the results, and then I'll show an example of a dork. As Ming said, it's been around for ages. 2002 was when it sort of took off, when Johnny Long started collecting dorks on a website. And this sort of morphed into what's now known as the Google Hacking Database that some of you may have seen. So this is what the Johnny Long page looked like. It also explains why it's called a dork. So a Google dork, an inept or foolish person as revealed by Google. You can see the top one there is SQL data dumps. And that page has turned into this, which is a nice looking website hosted on at ExploitDB. New dorks are added every few days. It sort of corresponds with whenever new vulnerabilities are released, people might craft together a good dork just to find vulnerable servers. Here's an example. I don't know if you can see it, but it says a Google search for Untitled Hamdida Eggshell backdoor. And this is a type of web shell. And doing this search finds 19 results of hosts that are compromised, and you could click through here. I don't know if there's a username and password on these, but you have access to the hosts. So since this has been around since 2002, it shouldn't be an issue anymore, but it still is. There's the Internet of Things. You could be DDoSed by toasters. People put webcams up there, no password, no username. You can find ICS systems on there, industrial control systems, and really nothing has changed. The more stuff we put online, people aren't really paying attention and securing their setups. So I was looking to find a good example of where dorking matters. Here we have an example of Google search technique aided New York Dam hacker in Iran. Basically someone gained access to a water plant system, I think. That was cool, I thought, and then I looked at the date it was published. It was a few months ago, March 2016. So it's still an issue, and we haven't fixed anything. So when most people think about dorking, they think about Google. There are, just to give an example of the sort of differences between Google and Bing, I do a little bit more. I do Shodan as well in this project. I'll get into that. But Google has a great advanced query language, and they don't filter the results as much. Bing filters a ton of results, and you can't search for SQL files, for example, because they filter it out. The flip side, though, is that Google no longer has a search API. So if you wanted to look at Google results, you will have to scrape it and use 1,000 proxies. On the other, Bing offers a very good one, or good API. So what I wanted to do when I started this project is I wanted to collect these dorking results in a database that I could use to alert on, because I want to know if a certain site appears in a dorking result. I want to send out an alert. And the tools that I found, they were all sort of focused on single use. So you input your query and you run it, and you look at the results, and then you take action. And most of them didn't seem to have open source anywhere. There is a cool one, SearchDiggity, but I can't find any updates to it, and it looks like it's dead. That was closed source, but it's a neat project. That's why I built Dorky. It's a great name, and it's got a great logo. It's basically two components. Oh, sorry. Is this better? Woo! So Dorky is split into two components talking through a Mongo database. It's a web UI where you manage your dorks. You can look at the results if you wanted to. But that's not the core intention of it. And then there's the runner, which is basically what executes the queries. So in the Mongo database, you store queries of different types. The runner grabs all the dorks that are available, runs the correct search engine, saves the results to the Mongo database. Then it waits a little bit, and then it does it all over again. It's not rocket science. So architecture-wise, it's built in Python, mostly because I like Python. It's widely used. A lot of people know it. Mongo, it's free, easy to set up, easy to develop against. On pros and cons, it has no schema, so you can sort of go Wild West while developing, which is a good thing. Might be a bad thing eventually, but for now it's good. And then for the web server, for the management UI, I used Worksoig, which is basically what powers Flask. It's a lightweight version. It's very nice to use. So I've included code for scraping Google, doing the Bing via the API searches, Google custom search, which is something you can set up for specific sites, and then they give you sort of a little mini version of Google for specific keywords or sites. And you can configure it through some trickery to search the whole web, but you get very limited results back. And then I also included Shodan. If you guys don't know what Shodan is, it's basically a searchable nmap. They scan the web for open ports, they collect the results, and they cache them. So sort of to look a little bit at what the UI looks like, I'll show the UI as well. Adding a dork is quite simple. You add a query, you add a description if you want to, you put it in a category. You can give it a source if you find it on a specific site, and you pick which search engine you use. After you add it, it pops up in this little list down here. And as soon as the runner pulls this query and runs it, you get some results. In this case, it's a webcam query for Shodan. And you can see the IPs and ports as well as the banners being returned. But in the Mongo database, you actually get the full result stored, so you can go back to it later. Let me go through the slides, and I can show what it looks like afterwards. As far as configuration goes, it's quite easy to set up. You need a Mongo database. You need to select which search engines you want to run, API keys if you're going to use any of those. You need proxies. You don't need 1,000, but a handful are good. And as well as filtering, because a lot of the results you get back are not, it won't be perfect, and you need to filter some results out. For example, you don't want to get the Google hacking database returned as a result. That would be pointless. And certain keywords, dorking, maybe hacking, etc. And as I said, some of the results can be quite noisy. It depends on your query. It's the issue of rate limiting and API costs. If you were to run the Bing API for all the queries that are in the Google hacking database, it would be expensive. And if you have that sort of budget, go for it, but I don't. And I think the big issue is the reason why a lot of these tools have they sprung up and then they died is because they require continuous maintenance. Because if Google removes their API, for example, then I saw a ton of tools just wham. And if they change their website layout, for example, then I need to update the scraper. But hopefully, I'm using this in my company production system right now, so hopefully it will keep getting updates and won't die. So some of the future work here, I would like to add more search engines. GitHub, VirusTotal, hybrid analysis are some examples. There's some need to improve the logging and error handling. I've been working on it, but it's not perfect. Then adding a pipe to Elasticsearch would be very cool. So I pipe this data into my company system, so I can set up alerts in there. If you don't have access to recorded future on a developer level, which you don't unless you sign up for a job, you need some other way of alerting. And if you wanted to take a look at it, it's on GitHub, github.com/recordedfuture/dorky. It's MIT licensed, so go ahead and steal the code and use it. And if you have any questions, this is my personal email address, reesalu@gmail.com. I told you this would be painless and quick. All right, adjusting the image. So this is what the UI looked like. I have scripts that pull in the entire Google hacking database and imports it into this database. If you wanted to run all of them. But what I run, this is not the production system, this is my local version running. I'm not on the Wi-Fi, so I won't show you the actual running. I apologize. So, for example, if we wanted to enable one of these queries, for example, some money broker's account, we hit it, it would be enabled, and the next time the runner goes through this, it will execute the query and it will collect the results. And here we have the webcam query from Shodan. It's basically searching for server SQ webcam. I stole it. It was the top webcam query on the Shodan website. We could look at the results. We get a whole bunch of them back. So if anyone wants to look at some webcams, here you go. Yeah, that was all I had to say. And if you have any questions, please go ahead. So the question was, if Shodan lists these webcams, can you go to any of these webcams and just look at the images? You can. There are a few that have username and password protection, but there's a ton of unprotected webcams out there. You can spend a whole evening looking at garages and people's living rooms. Don't do that. But yes, there's a ton of information out there, especially on Shodan. Anything else? Sorry? Census? I haven't looked at it, no. Cool. I'll check it out. YS, census, okay. see. Yeah, okay, I'll check it out. Thank you. Yep. So the question was, I said that Bing filters Dorking results and Google doesn't, and the question was, why don't they? I think for Bing, it's that I think they filter results out. They put an effort into it. I don't think Google has the sort of impetus to do it. For Bing, it's also a result of their like worse advanced query language. You can't search for file type SQL, for example. They only support PDF and like the standard formats like Office documents and things. Wait.
No. You have a way to set it towards specific hosts, like ESETs, and also is there a way to export out?
So the question was if there's a way to put it towards specific hosts. I mean, you could update the code to do this, or you could just add that to your queries. Just search for these sites or this site. Exporting the data out, I use it in the Mongo database. I'm comfortable with using it in the Mongo database. If you would like to write a CSV export or whatever, please do. Anything else? All right. Thank you very much for spending time here with me.